Dear students, going to all. So today I am going to explain the fundamentals of soil mechanics. So how soil is formed, what is the origin of soils, and also the fundamental relationships now that I am going to discuss now. So let us see what you mean by soil. A soil is defined as the solid particles obtained by physical disintegration and chemical decomposition of rocks. Physical disintegration means only the size reduces. Large size rock fragments is converted into small pieces due to mechanical breakdown of rock particles. Physical disintegration and chemical decomposition of rocks. Due to chemical reaction between water and rock, the rock particles are converted into soil, which is known as chemical decomposition. So, soil is defined as the solid particles, small size solid particles obtained by physical disintegration and chemical decomposition of rocks. So, soil is obtained from rocks. Soil consists of solid particles and voids between the solid particles. So, sometimes the voids are filled with water and sometimes the voids are filled with air. Sometimes the voids are filled with both air and water. So origin of soil. So which is the main source for the formation of soil. So geological cycle, which goes continuous in nature, is the origin for soils. So geological agents. So we have geological agents. So these geological agents make a geological cycle. So geological agents means the natural forces which are responsible for modifying the irregularities on the surface of the earth. So we have two types of geological agents. One is endogenous geological agents and exogenous geological agents. Endogenous geological agents originates below the earth surface. So these originates below the earth surface. For example, earthquake, volcanic eruption, groundwater, etc. So these endogenous geological agents causes irregularities on the earth surface. So in order to get a plane surface or in order to get the equilibrium, exogenous geological agents. Exogenous geological means which originates the natural forces which originates above the earth surface, such as ocean, river, glacier, and gravitational forces. So in order to get equilibrium, the exogenous agents acts on these irregularities on the surface and modifies the irregularities on the surface. So the origin of soil is geological cycle, which goes continuous in nature due to geological agents. So geological agents means the natural forces which are responsible for modifying the irregularities. So due to endogenous geological agents and exogenous geological agents, irregularities are found and these irregularities are removed. So geological cycle consists of erosion or weathering, transportation, deposition, and upheaval. So, due to endogenous geological agents, elevations are formed, just like hills. Elevations are formed, rock surfaces, a larger size rock particles are formed. So, because when these rocks particles or elevations are subjected to weathering or erosion action, the top layer will be loosened and it is removed. This top layer is transported by exogenous geological agents which originates above the earth's surface, such as water or wind. So these loosened rock fragments are transported from one place to another place. When the velocity of geological agents reduces, then these soil particles are deposited. Then after deposition, slowly again irregularity is formed, which is known as upheaval. So the great question here is the correct sequence of geological cycle consists of so first erosion or weathering, next transportation, next deposition, next upheaval. So there may be some changes in objective questions. So the sequence may be changed. So you need to identify the correct sequence. Weathering, transportation, deposition, upheaval. This is the correct sequence of geological cycle. So first erosion or weathering occurs, then due to erosion or weathering, the top layer is removed, the top layer of rock is removed, and this is transported by natural geological agents. Then after transportation, it is deposited. So after deposition, due to consolidation of the deep soil layers, upheaval is formed. This is the correct sequence of geological cycle: weathering, transportation, deposition, and upheaval. So formation of soil. The soil is formed due to weathering. So weathering is again divided into two types: physical or mechanical weathering, chemical weathering. So physical weathering means only breakdown of rock fragments into small pieces. So rock fragments means it is a large size particles. They are broken due to some agents into small pieces. That such a process is known as physical or mechanical weathering. Chemical weathering means due to some chemical reactions between the rock minerals and water, there may be change in there may be conversion of rock particles into soil. That is known as chemical weathering. So physical or mechanical weathering involves temperature changes, frost action, abrasion, attrition, spreading of roots, men and animals. Chemical weathering includes hydration, hydrolysis, carbonation, leaching or solution, or oxidation. So temperature changes means during daytime the rock surface is subjected to heat. So, but the core inner surface of the rock is subjected to low heat. At the same time, in the during night times, the top surface is subjected to low temperature. The inner surface is subjected to high temperature due to unequal temperature on the surface and inner surface of the rock. There may be the expansion or contraction, unequal expansion and contraction of the rock particles. Due to unequal expansion and contraction of the contraction of the rock, internal stresses will develop and large size rock fragments are broken into small pieces. Frost action means rock particle consists of some voids. So during rainy season, the voids are filled with water. So when temperature lowers below freezing point, what will happen? This water is converted into ice crystals. So the volume increases. When the volume of water increases, ice crystals increases, it will exert some pressure on the cracks of the rock particles so that the large size rock fragments are converted into small pieces. So abrasion during transportation, what will happen? The rock fragments can be collide with the banks of the river or any other surface of the rock so that the large size rock fragments are broken into pieces. Attrition means during transportation, these rock fragments are collide with each other so that large size rock fragments are converted into small pieces, which is known as soil. Due to spreading of roots, also there may be breakdown of rock particles. So at the same time, men also causing due to blasting of some hilly areas by human beings, the soil also formed. At the same time, animals, some burrowing animals also converting the rock into small pieces, which is known as soil. In chemical weathering, we have hydration, hydrolysis, carbonation, leaching or solution, and oxidation. So hydration means water combines with the rock minerals and changes the properties of the rock and converts the rock into soil particles. Hydration means water combines with the rock minerals. Hydrolysis means the water molecules H plus OH minus. The water molecule is dissociated into H plus and OH minus. These H plus ions make a chemical reaction with the rock minerals and changes the rock properties, and finally it converts the rock into soil. So carbonation means the atmosphere consists of carbon dioxide. When this carbon dioxide is mixed with the water, acid is formed. This carbonic acid attack on the rock particles and converts rock particles into pieces. Next, leaching means some rock consists of some soluble minerals. When these rocks are submerged in water, the soluble minerals are leached out, so that the rock consists of large size voids. After some time, due to collide, they may be broken into pieces. Oxidation means the oxygen present in water, the oxygen present in atmosphere makes a chemical reaction with the rock particles and converts into small pieces known as soil. So here one get question is, so which process involves in chemical weathering? So objective question they have given. So three are from physical weathering and one is from chemical weathering. So you need to identify. So physical weathering involves temperature changes, frost action, abrasion, attrition, spreading of roots, men and animals. Chemical weathering involves hydration, hydrolysis, carbonation, leaching or solution, and oxidation. So physical weathering, the process in which rocks are converted into soil by physical disintegration or mechanical breakdown of rocks without any chemical changes. Just large size rock fragments are converted into small pieces. There is no change in properties of the parent rock. Please remember, the soil consists of same properties similar to parent rock. There is no chemical changes. There is no changes in the properties of the soil. The rock, the properties of soil is similar to properties of the parent rock. So the soil formed in this process has the similar properties as that of parent rock. At the same time, here the gate question is coarse grain soils are formed due to physical weathering. Please remember coarse grain soil, gravel, coarse sand and fine sand are formed due to physical weathering. Coarse grain soils are formed due to physical weathering. Next, chemical weathering. The rock in which original rock minerals are transformed into new minerals by chemical reactions are known as chemical weathering. So water combines with rock minerals, H plus ions combines with the rock minerals, carbonic acid combines with the rock minerals, and also some soluble minerals also dissolved in leached out in the water. At the same time, oxygen ions also makes a chemical reaction with the rock minerals so that the rock in which original rock minerals are transformed into new minerals by chemical reactions are known as chemical weathering. So please remember the soil formed in this process do not have the properties of parent rock. Due to chemical reaction, the properties will be changed. So please remember the soil formed in this process do not have the properties of parent rock. So fine grain soils are formed due to chemical weathering. Please remember fine grain soils are formed due to chemical weathering. Fine grain soils means silty soils and clayey soils. Silts and clays, they are known as fine grain soils. The size is less than 75 microns ISC. So fine grain soils are formed due to chemical weathering. Coarse grain soils are formed due to physical weathering. Next, geological classification of soils. So this classification is based on transportation of soil. So soil is formed at one location and it is transported to on the other location by natural geological agents. So based on the geological agents, soil is transported into, so based on transportation of soil, soil is divided into two types: residual soil or sedentary soils. Residual soils are sedentary soils. Next, transported soils are sedimentary soils. So residual soils means soils which remain at the place of formation just below the parent rock is known as residual soils. So a parent rock will be there due to weathering action. The top surface of the rock minerals may be loosened and soil is formed. This soil is not transported to another location. The soil is placed just below the parent rock. So there is no transportation of soil. The soil exists at the bottom of the rock. Such type of soils are known as residual soils or sedentary soils. Soils which remain at the place of formation just below the parent rock is known as residual soils. Example, black cotton soils, lateritic soils or red soils. Lateritic soils are also known as red soils. So black cotton soils. The parent rock of black cotton soils are basalt and trap. So parent rock is basalt and trap. But the soil is formed is black cotton soil. So the properties of basalt and trap is different from the properties of black cotton soil. That's why it is formed due to chemical weathering. So residual soils here, black cotton soils are formed due to chemical weathering. It does not have a, possess the properties of parent rock. So the parent rock of black cotton soil is basalt and trap. Black cotton soil exhibit swelling and shrinkage. When it receives water, increase in volume of soil takes place. When water is dried out, shrinking of soil mass takes place. So this swelling and shrinkage is due to presence of mount more redundant clay mineral. So it exhibits high compressibility. So please remember, it is a gate question. So due to presence of Mount Moradi clay mineral, the soil exhibit swelling and shrinkage. Very, very important. One more question. So the Brachycardian cell exhibits swelling and shrinkage properties due to presence of monomorillonate clay mineral. Next, lateritic cells. These are formed by oxidation process in chemical weathering. So lateritic cells also formed in chemical weathering, but it is in red color. So in red color is due to presence of iron oxide. Please remember, the red color is due to presence of iron oxide. Next, transported soil. So residual soil means the soil doesn't transport it. It remains at the bottom of the parent rock. But transport soil means the soil which are formed at one location is transported and finally deposited in another location. So soils are transported by natural geological agencies such as water, glaciers, sea or oceans, lake, etc. So soil is formed at one location. This soil is transported by natural geological agents, which are known as exogenous geological agents, which originates above the Earth's surface. So water, glacier, sea, wind, all these things originates above the ground surface. Exogenous geological agents. So depending upon the agency of transportation, sometimes the soil is transported due to water. Sometimes the soil is transported from one place to another place due to wind. Sometimes it is transported due to ocean or sea. Sometimes it may be transported due to glacier. So depending upon the agency of transportation, they are named as alluvial soils, alien soils, marine soils, lacustrine soils. So alluvial soils means the soil which is transported by running water or stream are called alluvial soil. The soil which is transported by running water is known as alluvial soils. So river deposited soils. So it consists of alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay. Please remember, alluvial soils consists of alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay, which is also termed as loam. So loam consists of alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay. It is a river deposited soil, alluvial soil. So example for alluvial soil is loam. Loam consists of alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay. Next, lacustrine soils. The soils which are deposited at the bottom of the lake are known as lacustrine soils. So, soil transported by lakes or the soil which are deposited at the bottom of the lake are known as lacustrine soils. It is a get one more question. So, warwood clay is a is deposited at the bottom of the lake. So, lake deposit soil is warwood clay. It consists of alternate layers of silt and clay. So Warwood clay consists of alternate layers of silt and clay. So example for lake deposit soil or lacustrine soil is Warwood clay. Lacustrine soil means it is lake deposited soil. The soil which is deposited at the bottom of the lake is known as lacustrine soils. So marine soils. The soil formed by ocean or sea water are called marine soils. Example marl. It consists of organic matter. So the soil formed by ocean or seawater are called as marine soils, marine deposited soil. Example for marine soil is marl. Marl consists of highly decomposable organic matter. Marl is consists of highly decomposable organic matter. It is example for marine soils. Wind deposited soils. The soil which is formed by transportation of wind are known as alien soils. Alien soils. Example, Lewis and dune sand. Lewis and dune sand is example for wind deposited soils. Next, glacier deposited soils. Glaciers are large mass of ice formed by compaction of snow. So soils which are transported and deposited by glaciers are known as glacier deposited soils. The soils which are formed or which are transported and deposited by glaciers are known as glacier deposited soils. Example, example, drift, moraine, tilts, and outwash. Moraines, drifts, tilts, outwash. These are example for glacier deposited soils. Next, gravity deposited soil. It is a great question. The soil deposited by gravitational forces are known as colluvial soils. The soils deposited by gravitational forces are known as colluvial soils. The soil collected at the foot of the hill and steep slopes. These soils are collected at the foot of the hill and steep slopes. So example for gravity deposited soil is talus. So talus is a gravity deposited soil. Next, organic soil, but it is not formed by transportation. So organic soil means the soil which contains decomposable matter. So decomposable matter, then it is known as organic soil. If soil consists of highly decomposable matter, it is known as organic soil. Another name of organic soil is humulose soils. Humulose soil is another name of organic soil. Example, peat, humus, and muck. Peat, humus, and muck are the example for organic soils. So we need to have some points to remember. If soil mass consists of all size particles in equal proportions, then the soil is known as well-graded soil. If soil mass consists of all size particles in equal proportions, coarse grained soil, medium sized soils, and fine grained soils, all particles are proportioned in equal proportions. Then it is known as well-graded soil. Example is glacier deposited soils. If a soil mass consists of all size particles in unequal proportions, then the soil mass is known as poorly graded soil. Poorly graded soil. Example is alluvial soils. So, well-graded soil example glacier deposited soil. Poorly graded soil example alluvial soils, river deposited soils. If soil mass consists of same size of particles throughout the mass, so in a soil mass, all particles are equal size. Then it is known as uniformly graded soil. Uniformly graded soil example is wind deposited soils. In a soil mass, if some particle size of particles are missing, the soil mass is known as gap graded soil. In sieve analysis, the top sieves may be retained with some soil and bottom sieves also retained with some soil, but the intermediate sieves are empty. That means some intermediate particle sizes are missing. Such type of soils are known as gap graded soil. Next, basic definitions, relationships, and interrelationships. So generally soil is composed of solids and voids. So in partially saturated soil, some of the voids are filled with air, some of the voids are filled with water. In partially saturated soil, some of the voids are filled with air and some of the voids are filled with water. In fully saturated soil, all voids are filled with water. In perfectly dry soil, all voids are filled with air. So in actual practice, these three constituents are blended together to form complex material. But it is very difficult to understand the behavior of the soil by using this complex material. So for better understanding of the behavior of the soil, for better understanding of the behavior of the soil, these three constituents are separated and represented in a diagram which is known as three-phase diagram or block diagram. So generally, the soil is composed of solids and voids. Voids may be filled with air or water or both. So generally, these three constituents are blended, mixed with each other. It is very difficult to understand the behavior of the soil by taking reference as this complex diagram, so that for better understanding the soil is divided into or separated into three constituents: solid, water, and air. So this diagram, which consists of three phases, is known as three-phase diagram or block diagram. So but this three phase exists only for partially saturated soil, because some of the voids are filled with water and some of the voids are filled with air. The three-phase diagram indicates partially saturated soil. For dry soil, the entire voids are filled with air, only two phases. And fully saturated soil, it becomes two-phase diagram because the entire voids are filled with water. Only for partially saturated soil, we have three-phase diagram. For perfectly dry soil and fully saturated soil, we have only two-phase diagram because solids and voids, in perfectly dry soil, all the voids are filled with air. In fully saturated soil, all the voids are filled with water. So here I have taken a three-phase diagram: solids, water, and air. So left hand side represents the weight of the soil particles, right hand side represents the volume of the soil particles. So weight of air, weight of water, weight of solids. So weight of whites equal to weight of air plus weight of water. Similarly, volume of solids, volume of water, volume of air. So volume of whites equal to volume of water plus volume of air. So volume of whites equal to volume of air plus volume of water. So here total volume of V is known as total volume of soil. Total volume equal to volume of solids plus volume of voids. So total volume equal to volume of solids plus volume of voids. But volume of voids equal to volume of air plus volume of water. So total volume is equal to volume of solids plus volume of water plus volume of air. Total weight of soil equal to weight of solids plus weight of water plus weight of air. But in soil mechanics, weight of air is neglected. It is assumed as zero. So total weight of the soil sample is equal to weight of solid particles plus weight of water. So now coming to volume relationship. So numerator and denominator both consist of volume. So void ratio. The ratio of volume of voids to the volume of solids is known as void ratio. It is denoted by small e. So volume of voids to the volume of solids. So here we have two statements. Sometimes E is greater than 100% or sometimes E is greater than 1. So while reporting, it should be reported in percentage. So while substituting in equations, it should be in fractions. So sometimes E is greater than 1 or 100%. Yes, it is a true statement. So in the case of collapsible soils, the soil bridges large voids so that the volume of voids is greater than volume of solids. So E can be greater than 1 or 100%. So we can see in consolidation chapter for clay soils, E can be greater than 1. Sometimes only, not always. E always greater than 0. It is a false statement. Sorry, E always greater than 0. Yes, it is a true statement. So sometimes E is greater than 100. E always greater than 0. Sometimes it is greater than 100. So when the soil particle is assumed as spherical particles and it is placed in dense condition, maximum void ratio equal to 0.91 and minimum void ratio is equal to 0.35. So these are when soil particles are assumed as spherical particles, but in actual, the particles are not in spherical shape. If the soil particles are in spherical nature, maximum void ratio obtained is 0.91. Minimum void obtained is 0.35. Please remember these values. Maximum void ratio is equal to 0.91. Minimum void ratio is equal to 0.34. So void ratio of fine grained soil is greater than coarse grained soil. So if you take a clay and gravel, clay has high void ratio when compared to gravel. But the size of the void is very small in the case of fine grained soil, and the size of the void is more in the case of coarse grained soil. So coming to next definition, porosity. It is the ratio of volume of voids to total volume of soil sample. Volume of voids to total volume of soil sample into 100%. Porosity is always less than 1 or 100%. It is a true statement because volume of voids is a part of total volume. So total volume equal to volume of voids plus volume of solids. So volume of voids is the part of total volume, hence it is always less than 1 or 100%. So porosity ranges between 0 to 1 or 0 to 100%. So in fractions 0 to 1, percentage 0 to 100%. So degree of saturation. It is defined as the ratio of volume of water to the volume of voids. So for fully saturated soils, degree of saturation equal to 100% because all voids are filled with water. So volume of water becomes volume of voids. So volume of voids by volume of voids cancel. Degree of saturation is equal to 100%. For perfectly dry soil, all the voids are filled with air. Degree of saturation is equal to 0%. So degree of changes ranges in between 0 to 100%. So next definition is percentage air voids. So percentage air void is the ratio of volume of air to the total volume. It is the ratio of volume of air to the total volume. Air content, A suffix C, denoted by A suffix C. So it is the ratio of volume of air to the volume of voids. See the difference. Percentage of air voids, it is the ratio of volume of air to total volume. Air content means it is the ratio of volume of air to volume of voids. So for perfectly dry soil, air content equal to 100% because all the voids are filled with air. Volume of air equals to volume of voids. So for perfectly dry soil, we will get air content equal to 100%. For fully saturated soil, air content equal to 0% because all the voids are filled with water. There will not be any air. So the range is 0 to 100%. So next, so till now we discussed the volume to volume relationship. Numerator and denominator both are volumes. Here weight to weight relationships. So water content. So numerator weight, denominator also weight. The weight of water, it is the ratio of weight of water to the weight of dry soil into 100. So water content is greater than or equal to 0. So it should be greater than 0, and it may be greater than 0 or equal to 0. Sometimes weight of water is greater than weight of solids. It is a true statement because in the case of collapsible soils, the collapsible soil consists of large voids. When the voids are filled with water, the weight of water is greater than weight of dry soil. That's why sometimes weight of water is greater than weight of solid. It is a true statement. Please remember, sometimes weight of water is greater than weight of solids or dry soil. So weight to volume relationships. So till now we completed volume to volume relationship, weight to weight relationship. Now I am going to discuss weight to volume relationships. Bulk unit weight. So bulk unit weight is the ratio of weight of partially saturated soil to the total volume of soil. So here please remember, weight of partially saturated soil. Weight means weight of air, weight of water, weight of solids. Here we are considering the volume of voids. So volume of voids, if you consider volume of voids, we should consider the weight of air also and weight of water present in voids. Similarly, total volume means volume of air plus volume of water plus volume of solid particles. So next, dry unit weight. It is the ratio of weight of dry soil to the total volume of dry soil. So weight of dry soil means weight of, we are considering here void spaces. In dry soil, voids are filled with air. So weight of air plus weight of solid particles divided by volume of air plus volume of solids. But in soil mechanics, weight of air is treated as 0. So it is the ratio of weight of solid particles to the volume of air plus volume of solids. Saturated unit weight of soil, gamma sat. So it is the ratio of weight of saturated soil to the volume of saturated soil. So weight of saturated soil means weight of water plus weight of solid particles. We are considering voids here. So voids are considering. That's why in the case of saturated soil, all the voids are filled with water. That's why I have taken weight of water plus weight of solids. Similarly, we need to consider the volume of water and also volume of solids. So it is a ratio of weight of saturated soil to the volume of saturated soil. So unit weight of water. Here is a small correction. It is a ratio of weight of water to the volume of water. Weight of water to the volume of water. So it is taken as 9.81 or 10 kilonewton per meter cube or 1 gram per cc. It will not be given in the problem sometimes. So it is assumed that standard value for a unit weight of water is 9.81 kilonewton per meter cube or 10 kilonewton per meter cube or 1 gram per cc. Submerged unit weight. It is the ratio of weight of soil submerged to the volume of soil submerged. So submerged unit weight is equal to gamma sat minus gamma w, unit weight of water. So when the soil is submerged, it will lose some weight due to buoyancy. That's why we need to subtract the unit weight of water. So unit weight of solids. So till now I have considered the total volume, volume of solids and volume of voids. Here unit weight of solids means we don't consider the volume of voids. We will consider only volume of solids and weight of solids. voids are neglected. Please remember, unit weight of solids means it is the ratio of weight of solid particles excluding voids divided by volume of solid particles excluding voids. Only we need to consider solid particles only. So weight of solid particles, it is a ratio of weight of solid particles to the volume of solid particles. So for a given soil, unit weight of soil is constant. So unit weight of solids is equal to weight of solids to the volume of solid particles. So please remember, for a given soil, unit weight of soil is constant. It will not change. Saturated unit weight and saturated partial saturated unit weight, submerged unit weight, they may be changed depending upon the water content. Next parameter is specific gravity. The specific gravity is the ratio of weight of soil to the weight of equivalent volume of water. So weight of soil divided by weight of equivalent volume of water. That means the volume occupied by soil. If you fill the same volume with the water, then the weight is known as weight of equivalent volume of water. If you take a jar, so from the jar we need to take the 100 grams 100 ml soil. If the same jar is filled with water, then the weight of water is known as weight of equivalent volume of water. So specific gravity is divided into two types: apparent or mass specific gravity, true or absolute specific gravity. So apparent specific gravity, apparent means as temporary. So apparent specific gravity is obtained by considering the void spaces between solid particles. So here we are considering the voids. So when voids are considered, when you take the volume of water and volume of air. So apparent specific gravity is obtained by considering the void spaces between the solid particles. So weight of soil equal to weight of voids plus weight of solids. Volume of soil equal to volume of voids plus volume of solids. So it is not constant because we are considering the volume of voids. So depending upon the water content, it may change. So it is not constant for a given soil mass. It may vary depending upon the water content present in the soil mass. So for perfectly dry soil, apparent specific gravity or mass specific gravity is a ratio of weight of dry soil to the weight of equivalent volume of water. So if you see the equation, finally we will get apparent specific gravity or mass specific gravity of perfectly dry soil is equal to unit weight of dry soil divided by unit weight of water, gamma D divided by gamma W. Dry unit weight divided by unit weight of water. So for fully saturated soil, it is a ratio of apparent specific gravity or mass specific gravity. It is a ratio of weight of saturated soil to the weight of equivalent volume of water. So weight of saturated soil divided by weight of water. If you solve it, we will get gamma sat by gamma W. So GM is equal to unit weight saturated unit weight divided by unit weight of water. So for partially saturated soil mass, GM is equal to bulk unit weight divided by unit weight of water. So it is the ratio of bulk unit weight to the unit weight of water. So next one is true specific gravity and absolute specific gravity. So in this case, we don't consider volume of voids. So we don't consider volume of air, we don't consider volume of water because we are neglecting the volume of voids. So it is a ratio of unit weight of solids to the unit weight of water. So the difference between mass specific gravity and true specific gravity is in mass specific gravity we are considering the volume of voids. In true specific gravity we are not considering the voids. That is the difference between mass specific gravity and true specific gravity. Mass specific gravity is temporary. It is not constant. It is not constant. Depending upon the water content, it changes. But true specific gravity does not depends upon voids. So true specific gravity, voids are neglected. It does not depends on the voids, whatever may be air or water in the present in the voids, it will not consider. That's why true specific gravity is constant. So true specific gravity is constant. It's a gate question. Which one is the constant? So which specific gravity is constant? in the case of soils. So true specific gravity or absolute specific gravity is constant. So it is excluding the voids. But apparent specific gravity is not constant. It varies depending upon the water content. You can see here perfectly dry soil gamma d by gamma w. For fully saturated soil gamma sat by gamma w. For perfectly partially saturated soil gamma v by gamma w. But true specific gravity at any state true specific gravity equal to it is a ratio of unit weight of solids to the unit weight of water. So relationship between porosity and void ratio. So finally you will get E equal to n by 1 minus n. Relationship between porosity and void ratio. So porosity is equal to E by 1 plus C. So relationship between air content and percentage air voids. So percentage air voids is equal to air content into porosity. So I have derived all these equations without using phase diagram. So it may be useful for you. So if you consider the phase diagram, it may be difficult to understand. So I have taken without phase diagram. So next, relationship between bulk unit weight, specific gravity, void ratio, water content. So bulk unit weight is equal to G gamma W into 1 plus W by 1 plus C. So gamma B, first equation, G gamma W into 1 plus W by 1 plus E. Gamma B equal to, next for dry soil, water content equal to 0. For dry soil, water content equal to 0. That's why gamma D equal to G gamma W by 1 plus C. Next for fully saturated soil, so SE equal to WG. We have an equation SE equal to W into G. Here for fully saturated soil, degree of saturation is equal to 1. So W equal to SE by G. So gamma B equal to G gamma W into 1 plus SE by G. So finally we will get gamma sat equal to G plus E into gamma W by 1 plus C. It is for fully saturated soil. So for a bulk unit weight, second equation. First equation is the top one. Gamma B equal to G gamma W into 1 plus W by 1 plus C. So bulk unit weight second equation equal to G plus SC into gamma W by 1 plus C. So for fully saturated soil, S equal to 1. So gamma sat equal to G plus C into gamma W by 1 plus C. So gamma submerged unit weight is equal to G minus 1 into gamma W by 1 plus C. So go through the equation derivation. So finally you can understand. So gamma dash is equal to G minus 1 into gamma W by 1 plus C, submerged unit weight. So relationship between bulk unit weight, water content and dry unit weight. So gamma D, another equation is gamma B by 1 plus W. So earlier equation is G gamma W by 1 plus C. So for dry unit weight, we have two equations. Bulk unit weight also we have two equations. So these are the formulas which are essential to solve the problems in soil mechanics. Void ratio, porosity, degree of saturation, everything you need to learn to solve the problems. So see, these are some definitions. Next, interrelationships. So if you come to the problems, there is a great problem. In a soil mass, air occupies 1/6 of the total volume, water occupies 1/3 of the total volume of soil mass. So then the void ratio is given by dash. So here air occupies 1/6 of the total volume and water occupies 1/3 of the total volume of the soil. Void ratio by definition is the ratio of volume of voids to the volume of solids. So volume of voids is equal to volume of air plus volume of water. Volume of voids equal to 1/3 of total volume and volume of water equal to 1/6 of the total volume. So we will get volume of voids is equal to half of the total volume. So now coming to total volume is equal to volume of voids, sum of volume of voids plus and volume of solids. It is the sum of volume of voids and volume of solids. So volume of solids is equal to total volume minus volume of voids. So finally we get volume of solids is equal to half of the total volume. So now coming to the initial equation, void ratio is equal to volume of voids to the volume of solids. Volume of voids equal to half of the total volume. Volume of solids is equal to half of the total volume. So after cancellation, the void ratio is equal to 100%. So another great question. In a soil mass, volume of voids is equal to total volume of solids. Then porosity is given by dash. So here in the problem it is given that volume of voids equal to volume of solids. The porosity is defined as it is the ratio of volume of voids to the total volume into 100. So total volume is equal to volume of voids plus volume of solids. Total volume is equal to volume of voids. We can take volume of solids as volume of voids. So total volume is equal to 2 into volume of solids. So volume of voids finally we will get half of the total volume. So porosity is equal to volume of voids. So volume of voids is equal to V by 2 divided by total volume. So VV gets cancelled, half into 100, porosity is equal to 50%. Next, get question. Total volume of soil is 10 meter cube. If void ratio is equal to 0.6, degree of saturation is 40%, find the individual volume present in the soil mass. So total volume is 10 meter cube, void ratio is equal to 0.6, degree of saturation is equal to 40%. So we need to find out volume of solids, volume of air, and volume of water. So E equal to it is the ratio of volume of voids to volume of solids. So from the equation, volume of voids equal to E into volume of solids. So total volume is equal to volume of voids plus volume of solids. Here I am taking volume of voids as 0.6 into volume of solids. E into volume of solids. E equal to 0.6. Total volume equal to 10. So 10 is equal to, we will get 1.6 into volume of solids. So volume of solids is equal to 1.6 by 10. That is equal to 6.25 meter cube. So volume of solids is equal to 6.25 meter cube. So now we need to find out volume of water and volume of air. So degree of saturation is equal to, it is the ratio of volume of water to volume of voids. So degree of saturation is given by 40%, that means 0.4. So volume of water equal to 0.4 into volume of voids. So volume of water is equal to 0.4 into volume of voids is equal to 0.6 into volume of solids. 0.6 into 6.25. Volume of water equal to 1.5 meter cube. So total volume equal to volume of air plus volume of water plus volume of solids. So total volume we know that 10 meter cube. So volume of air we need to find out. Volume of water already find out 1.5 meter cube, and volume of solids equal to 6.55 meter cube. So finally by solving this we will get volume of air equal to 2.25 meter cube. So next, so this question, if you solve this question, you are able to solve the 2 marks questions. This is essay question, but if you practice it, you can solve the gate questions. So here a soil sample of porosity 40%, specific gravity of grains equal to 2.7. So we need to calculate void ratio, dry unit weight, bulk unit weight. If soil is 50% saturated, saturated unit weight, and submerged unit weight. We need to find out the unit weights here. So the values given in the data is porosity equal to 40%, grain specific equal to 2.7. So void ratio equal to E equal to N by 1 minus N. You know that porosity equal to 0.4. So 0.4 divided by 1 minus 0.4, E equal to 0.66. Second thing is dry unit weight. Gamma D equal to G gamma W by 1 plus C. So gamma W equal to 10 kiloton per meter cube. So gamma D equal to G 2.7, gamma W 10 divided by 1 plus E 0.66. So dry unit weight equal to 16.26 kilonewton per meter cube. Next, gamma B, bulk unit weight equal to G plus SC into gamma W by 1 plus C. G 2.7, degree of saturation 0.5, and void ratio 0.66. Gamma W equal to 10. Void ratio 0.66. So bulk unit weight equal to 18.25 kilonewton per meter cube. Saturated unit weight. So in saturated unit weight, degree of saturation is equal to 1. So G plus E into gamma W by 1 plus C. So if after substituting the values in the equation, we will get saturated unit weight is equal to 20.24 kilonewton per meter cube. Submerged unit weight is equal to gamma dash equal to G minus 1 into gamma W by 1 plus C. Gamma dash equal to 10.24 kilonewton per meter cube. So next, so if you see the values, gamma D equal to 16.26, gamma B equal to 18.25, gamma sat equal to 20.24, gamma dash equal to 10.24. Which one is higher? Gamma sat. Then bulk unit weight. Then dry unit weight. The last one is gamma dash. This is a gate question. The correct sequence. Identify the correct sequence. So unit weight of solids. Unit weight of solids equal to weight of solids to the volume of solids. In the case of unit weight of solids, we don't consider the volume of voids, so that area decreases. When the area decreases, unit weight of solids increases. So unit weight of solids always greater than the remaining unit weights. So first highest value is unit weight of solids, then saturated unit weight, then bulk unit weight, then dry unit weight. The last one is submetric unit weight. So next question is a saturated sample weight 352 grams. A saturated sample weight is 352 grams. After oven drying, its weight is reduced to 290 grams. So after placing in oven, the weight reduced to 290 grams. Initially 352. Specific gravity of solids and mass specific gravity are 2.65 and 1.85 respectively. So we will determine water content, void ratio, porosity, and degree of saturation. So saturated unit weight of soil is 352 grams. So after placing in oven, dry unit weight of soil is 290 grams. So the unit weight of solids is given and mass specific gravity also given 2.65 and 1.85. So water content equal to, it's the ratio of weight of water to weight of dry soil. So weight of water, how can we get? By subtracting the dry unit weight from the saturated unit weight. So by subtracting the dry unit weight of soil from the saturated unit weight of soil, we will get weight of water. So weight of water divided by weight of dry soil, 290 grams. So water content equal to 21.37%. So GM, mass specific gravity equal to gamma B by gamma W. So gamma B is equal to GM into gamma W. 1.85 into, I have taken gamma W as 10 kilonewton per meter cube. So gamma B is equal to 18.5 kilonewton per meter cube. So gamma D is equal to, so relationship we have gamma B by 1 plus W. So gamma D equal to gamma B 18.5, 1 plus water content 0.21. We will get dry unit weight as 15.25 kilonewton per meter cube. Next, void ratio. So we have an equation gamma D equal to G gamma W by 1 plus C. From this equation, E equal to G gamma W by gamma D minus 1. So E is equal to 2.65 G into 10 divided by gamma D 15.25 minus 1. E equal to 0.73. Porosity equal to E by 1 plus C. So porosity equal to E equal to 0.73 by 1 plus 0.73. So finally porosity is equal to 0.42. That means 42%. So degree of saturation is equal to, we have an equation SC equal to W into G. SC equal to degree of saturation is equal to WG by void ratio. So degree of saturation is equal to 0.77, that means 77%. Degree of saturation is equal to 77%. So next one is a soil has a bulk unit weight of 20 kilonewton per meter cube and water content 16%. So we need to calculate degree of saturation, porosity, percentage air voids and air content. So gamma B equal to 20 kilonewton per meter cube, water content 60% is given in the problem. Specific gravity grams equal to 2.65. Next, gamma D is equal to gamma B divided by 1 plus W. So we know that W also known, gamma B also known. So gamma D equal to 17.24 kilonewton per meter cube. So E equal to G gamma W by gamma D minus 1. So substituting the values, G 2.68, gamma W 10, gamma D 17.24 minus 1, by ratio equal to 53%. So in the above problem, G is given as 2.65. Degree of saturation is equal to Wg by E. W equal to 16%, G equal to 2.65, void ratio equal to 0.53. Porosity is equal to E by 1 plus C. So E equal to 0.53. So porosity equal to 34%. Percentage air voids is equal to AC into N, product of air content and porosity. So we need to find out AC here first. So we have another relationship. AC, air content, is equal to 1 minus degree of saturation. So in voids, air plus water is equal to full voids. So AC is equal to 1 minus degree of saturation. So AC is equal to 1 minus 0.83. We will get 17%. So air content equal to 17%. So while substituting, we need to substitute in fractions. 0.17 into porosity equal to 0.34. So percentage area is equal to 5%. So with this, I have finished the fundamentals of soil mechanics. If you have any clarifications, you can ask now. Vinay, Chetan, if you have any clarifications, Janesh, Satish,
Yes, sir.
సార్
if you have any clarifications, you can
లేదు
ask.
సార్, అర్థమైంది సార్ బాగా.
Okay, thank you so much.